Reflection. My brothers and my sisters, I came here today to tell you something simple, yet powerful. God knows you are tired. He knows the weight you've been carrying. Reflection. He knows the tears you cried when nobody else saw. He knows the nights when you couldn't sleep, the mornings when you couldn't get up. Reflection. And the days when you smiled on the outside but broke on the inside. You've been carrying battles that nobody else even understands. Reflection. But let me tell you today, you don't have to fake strength with God, because God already knows you are tired, and He is the one who will renew your strength. You see, reflection. People may look at you and expect you to keep going, keep shining, keep standing strong. They see your performance, but they don't know your pain. They see your smile, reflection, but they don't know your struggle. But God knows. And when God knows, He doesn't just watch. He steps in. God sees what others don't, and that truth is both comforting and powerful. Reflection. People around you may only see what you allow them to see. They notice your smile, your laughter, the way you show up every day and push forward as if everything is fine. Reflection. They applaud your accomplishments. They admire your strength. They look at your consistency and say, reflection, you've got it all together. But what they don't see is the weight that presses against your shoulders when the lights go out. Reflection. They don't see the silent tears you cry when nobody else is there. They don't hear the questions that echo in your mind late at night when the world is asleep. Reflection. They don't feel the moments when your heart is heavy, when your body is drained, when your spirit feels like it can't take one more step. People often see the outside performance, reflection, but God sees the inside pain. Think about it for a moment. A co-worker may look at you and think you are the strongest person in the room. Reflection. Your family may depend on you as the one who always provides, always shows up, always solves the problems. Reflection. Your friends may call you when they need encouragement because you've always got the right words to lift them up. And while you are giving, while you are serving, reflection, while you are pouring into others, sometimes deep inside you are running on empty. But God knows. He doesn't just see the mask you put on to keep going. Reflection. He doesn't just see the role you play for others. He sees beyond the surface. He sees the version of you that nobody else can reach. Reflection. There are people who will never understand the battles you fight simply because they can't see them. They might judge you for being quiet in a season, or for pulling away. Reflection. Or for not smiling as much as you used to. They might not realize that you're carrying things in your heart that you can't even put into words. Reflection. But the beauty of God's awareness is that you don't have to explain yourself to Him. You don't have to put together a presentation of your pain. Reflection. You don't have to justify why you're struggling. He already knows. He saw the moment your strength began to slip. Reflection. He saw the moment when you smiled at everyone else but felt broken when you were alone. He saw the moment when you encouraged someone else while secretly praying that somebody would encourage you. Reflection. Have you ever noticed how people can misread your life? They can look at your house, your job, your family, your smile, and think you're fine. They assume that because you look strong, reflection, you must be strong. They assume that because you keep going, you must not be struggling. But the truth is, you can be surrounded by people and still feel unseen. Reflection. You can be in a room full of friends and still feel like nobody truly knows what you're going through. But God does, and that makes all the difference. Because when He sees you, reflection, He doesn't just notice, He moves. When He sees you, He doesn't just recognize the weight, He carries it with you. Reflection. Think about the times you've been at your lowest and someone suddenly reached out with a word of encouragement, or you stumbled across a verse, a message, reflection, or even a song that spoke exactly to your situation. That wasn't random. That was God reminding you, I see you. I know what you're facing. Reflection. I haven't forgotten you. He doesn't just see your smile. He sees the tears behind it. He doesn't just see your success. He sees the sacrifice that got you there. Reflection. He doesn't just see your routine. He sees your reality. Daily life gives us countless examples. You may be a parent, waking up early, preparing meals, working long hours. Reflection. Trying to balance everything for your family. Everyone else sees a parent holding it together, but God sees the nights you cry because you're worried about providing. You may be a student, reflection, working hard, pushing yourself to meet expectations, and people only see your grades or achievements, but God sees the stress, the fear, the late nights when you can't concentrate. Reflection. You may be working in a job where people think you're thriving, but God sees the anxiety in your heart, the moments you feel undervalued, the pressure you carry when you go home at night. Reflection. And it doesn't stop there. God sees the broken heart after a relationship ended when everyone else told you to just move on. Reflection. He sees the loneliness when others assume you're surrounded by friends. He sees the silent battles with your health, the thoughts you don't dare speak out loud, the memories that haunt you. Reflection. While others only see pieces of your life, God sees the whole picture. He sees the struggle, the sacrifice, the strength, and the sorrow. Reflection. This truth should encourage you because it means you are never invisible to God. You might feel overlooked by people, but you are never overlooked by Him. Reflection. You might feel misunderstood by those closest to you, but you are fully understood by Him. You might feel like nobody has noticed how hard you've been fighting just to stand. Reflection. But God has seen every single step. Every tear has been counted. Every sigh has been heard. Every prayer has been recorded. And here's the beauty, because God sees what others don't. Reflection. He knows exactly how to meet you where you are. He knows when to send comfort. He knows when to open a door. He knows when to silence a storm. He knows when to place the right person in your path. Reflection. You don't have to prove your exhaustion to Him. He already knows you're tired. You don't have to convince Him of your need. He already knows what you need before you even ask. Reflection. So the next time you feel unseen, remember this: God sees it all. He sees the heaviness in your heart. He sees the battle in your mind, and He sees the courage it takes for you to keep going. Reflection. And because He sees, you can trust that He will step in at the right time, in the right way, with the right strength to carry you forward. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. Reflection. You are not overlooked. God knows you even when no one else does. Being tired does not mean defeat. Many people confuse their weariness with failure, but the two are not the same. Reflection. Feeling drained does not mean you have lost. It means you've been in the fight. It means you've been pushing forward when others would have quit. It means you've been showing up. Reflection. Even when your body and mind were begging you to sit down. Tiredness is not a sign of weakness, it is evidence of effort. It is proof that you are engaged in the battle. Reflection, not sitting on the sidelines. Think of an athlete running a marathon. At mile 2, they're full of energy. At mile 5, they're still steady. Reflection. But by the time they reach mile 15 or 20, their legs burn, their lungs ache, and their body begs them to quit. They are exhausted, but that exhaustion doesn't mean they are defeated. Reflection. In fact, the exhaustion proves they are still in the race. The only way to never feel tired is to never try. The only way to never grow weary is to never carry anything worth carrying. Reflection. Your tiredness shows you've been working towards something greater than yourself. In daily life, you might be tired as a parent raising children, teaching them values, keeping food on the table. Reflection. Showing up day after day when sometimes all you want is a moment of silence. That tiredness doesn't mean you are a bad parent or that you're failing. It means you are actively loving. Reflection. Actively nurturing, actively giving of yourself. The fact that you are tired is evidence that you are present in their lives. Reflection. And one day, those same children will look back and realize the sacrifices you made. Maybe you're tired from working long hours at your job, trying to provide for your family. Reflection. Trying to build a better life. You drag yourself out of bed each morning, put on your uniform, or sit down at your desk and push through the hours. By the end of the day, your body aches. Reflection. Your mind is weary, and you wonder if it's worth it. But that tiredness does not mean defeat. It means you have been diligent. It means you have chosen responsibility over comfort. Reflection. It means you are building something bigger than the moment you're in right now. There are students who are tired because they've been studying late, chasing after their goals. Reflection. Pushing themselves beyond what they thought they could handle. They feel the exhaustion of exams, the pressure of assignments, the stress of expectations. Reflection. That tiredness is not failure. It is proof they are reaching for a future that demands effort today. Reflection. The weariness they feel is shaping resilience inside them that will carry them into their careers and their purpose. Even emotionally, being tired doesn't mean you are finished. Reflection. Sometimes you're tired from carrying the emotional load of others, from being the one who listens, the one who encourages, the one who holds everything together. Reflection. You might reach a place where you feel drained, but that's not defeat. That's the evidence that you have a compassionate heart. Reflection. That you've been giving pieces of yourself to make someone else's journey lighter. Yes, you may feel weary, but your weariness is not wasted. The truth is, reflection, defeat only happens when you stop moving. As long as you are still putting one foot in front of the other, as long as you are still trying, you are not defeated. Tiredness is temporary. Reflection. But victory is eternal. The boxer in the ring doesn't lose because he's breathing heavy. He loses if he refuses to get back up. The soldier doesn't fail because he's weary. Reflection. He fails only if he lays down his weapon and walks away. And you, my friend, are still here. You may be tired, but the fact that you are still here means you have not been defeated. Reflection. Sometimes we need to reframe our perspective. Instead of looking at tiredness as a weakness, see it as a medal. It is the mark of someone who didn't quit when it was hard. Reflection. It is the mark of someone who kept walking when the road grew steep. It is the mark of someone who decided that their dream, their purpose, their family, reflection, their calling was worth the sweat and the struggle. Wear your tiredness as a badge of honor, because it means you are still engaged in the fight. Life will always require something from you. Reflection. Every good thing comes with effort. The farmer feels the exhaustion of planting before the harvest arrives. The mother feels the pain of labor before the joy of holding her child. Reflection. The student feels the stress of learning before the pride of graduation. In every season, tiredness comes before triumph. Weariness comes before reward. The struggle comes before the success. Reflection. So don't confuse your present exhaustion with final defeat. They are not the same. When you're tired, it means you've invested. It means you've poured yourself into something meaningful. Reflection. If you've been tired from loving someone, it means your heart has been open. If you've been tired from working, it means you've been faithful to your responsibilities. Reflection. If you've been tired from dreaming, it means you've been stretching yourself beyond the ordinary. You cannot grow without some level of tiredness. Reflection. You cannot build without some level of sacrifice. You cannot rise without some level of weariness along the way. So hold your head up. Take a deep breath. Reflection. Remind yourself that tiredness is not the end. It is only part of the journey. It is the proof that you are fighting for something worth having. You are not defeated. You are not done. You are not finished. Tired, yes, but defeated, never. Even the strongest need rest. Rest is not a sign of weakness, nor is it a luxury that only the lazy indulge in. Reflection. Rest is part of God's design for life itself. When we look at creation, even God, after forming the heavens and the earth, after placing the stars in the sky, reflection, the sun to rule the day and the moon to rule the night, after creating all living things, Scripture tells us that he rested on the seventh day. Now, if the all-powerful Creator chose to rest, reflection, what makes us believe we can keep going endlessly without ever pausing? Rest is not laziness. It is obedience to the rhythm God set for the world. Reflection. Sometimes people wear exhaustion as a badge of honor, as if being constantly busy, constantly tired, constantly drained is proof of importance. We live in a culture that glorifies hustle. Reflection. Celebrates burnout and applauds those who never stop moving. But being busy every moment does not always mean you're being fruitful. A tree doesn't bear fruit every single day. Reflection. There are seasons of planting, watering, waiting, and then harvesting. Likewise, our lives require seasons of rest so that we can renew ourselves, regain our strength. Reflection. And come back ready for the work ahead. Think about it. A phone that never gets charged will eventually die. It doesn't matter how good the phone is, how expensive it was. Reflection on how many features it has. If you don't plug it in and let it recharge, it becomes useless. The same is true for us. No matter how strong, smart, talented, or resilient we may be, reflection, if we don't take time to rest and recharge, we run on empty and eventually we burn out. Rest is not optional, it's necessary. Reflection. Take the example of a mother who cares for her children tirelessly. She wakes up early, prepares meals, gets them to school, works during the day, comes back to handle chores, listens to her kids, reflection, and tucks them into bed. She barely takes a moment for herself because her love drives her to give everything. But if she never pauses, if she never allows herself to rest, reflection, she will collapse under the weight of exhaustion. And when she collapses, she cannot serve the very family she loves. Rest allows her to keep giving without breaking down. Rest is not selfish. Reflection. It's wise. Or think about a man who works day and night, trying to build a future, trying to pay the bills, trying to make sure his family is provided for. He pushes through sickness. Reflection. He skips sleep. He ignores his own health. People call him strong. They call him a provider. But strength without rest is temporary. Eventually, the body will demand what he refuses to give it. Reflection. Rest isn't taken away from his work. Rest ensures that he can keep working for years to come. Even emotionally, rest is crucial. There are people who never let their minds stop racing. Reflection. Who never unplug from their worries, their responsibilities, their fears. They lie in bed at night, but their thoughts are sprinting. Reflection. They can't enjoy moments of peace because they're already planning the next challenge. Yet rest is not just for the body, it is for the soul. Sometimes you need to step away from the noise. Reflection. Put down the phone, silence the distractions, and breathe. Sometimes rest looks like walking in nature, spending quiet moments in prayer, or simply sitting still without feeling guilty. Reflection. Look at Jesus' example. He healed crowds, preached to multitudes, raised the dead, and cast out demons. Reflection. Yet Scripture also shows us moments when he withdrew from the crowds to be alone in prayer, to rest, to recharge. If the Son of God himself recognized the importance of stepping away, reflection, then we too must learn to value rest. Rest doesn't mean abandoning your calling. It means preserving yourself so that you can continue fulfilling it. Reflection. There's a reason we call it being rested and refresh it. Rest restores clarity. Rest renews perspective. Rest strengthens what weariness has weakened. When you rest, reflection, you allow your body to heal, your mind to reset, and your soul to reconnect with peace. That's why after a good night of rest, the problems of yesterday don't seem as heavy. Reflection. That's why after a moment of quiet, the answers you've been searching for seem to surface more clearly. Daily life proves this to us in simple ways. Reflection. A car engine overheats if it runs too long without pause. A computer slows down if it is never restarted. Athletes perform best when they allow their muscles to recover. Reflection. Farmers let their soil rest so it can produce better crops in the next season. Rest is not wasting time, it is investing in renewal. Sometimes we feel guilty for resting. Reflection. As if taking a break makes us irresponsible. But you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot give what you don't have. Rest allows you to come back stronger, sharper, more focused. Reflection. And more effective. Without rest, even the best intentions collapse. With rest, even the hardest burdens can be carried. So if you find yourself tired, don't be ashamed to pause. Reflection. Don't mistake rest for weakness. Don't think that resting means you've lost your edge. Rest is strength in disguise. It is choosing to step back so you can step forward with power. Reflection. It is trusting that the world will not fall apart because you took a moment to breathe. It is surrendering your false sense of control and recognizing that renewal is part of the journey. Reflection. Remember this, even the strongest need rest. Your worth is not measured by how much you can endure without stopping. Reflection. Your strength is not proven by how many nights you can stay awake or how much weight you can carry without collapsing. True strength is knowing when to pause, when to breathe. Reflection, and when to allow God to restore what life has drained. Rest is healing. Rest is necessary. And when you learn to embrace it, reflection, you will discover that rest doesn't take away from your journey. It gives you the fuel to finish it. Your weakness is not a curse. It is an invitation. Too often in life, reflection, we treat weakness as something shameful, something to hide, something to be embarrassed about. We put on masks and pretend we are strong. We act like nothing bothers us. Reflection, we carry ourselves as if we can handle everything on our own. But deep inside, we know the truth. There are days when we feel empty, when we feel broken. Reflection, when we feel like we cannot carry another burden. And here is the beautiful thing, it is in those very moments of weakness that God's strength shows up the clearest. Reflection, when you are strong in yourself, when you are confident in your own ability, when you are leaning on your own wisdom, it's easy to think you don't need anyone. Reflection, but when life knocks you to your knees, when you come to the end of yourself, when your strength fails, that's when you realize you cannot do it alone. Reflection. That's when you discover that His power is made perfect in weakness. He is not waiting for you to impress Him with how tough you are. He is waiting for you to surrender so that He can step in. Reflection. Think about this in everyday life. A child doesn't try to prove how strong they are to a loving parent. When they are hurt, when they fall down, when they scrape their knee, reflection, they don't hide it. They run into their parents' arms because they know that is where comfort and healing are found. Reflection. Weakness in the presence of love isn't shameful. It is the doorway to receiving care. In the same way, your weakness is not meant to push you away from God, but to pull you closer to Him. Reflection. Consider someone who has been carrying the weight of financial stress. They try everything, they work overtime, they cut corners, they budget every penny. Yet the bills keep piling up. Reflection. The opportunities seem scarce and the exhaustion sets in. At some point, they hit the wall of their own ability. That is not defeat. That is an invitation to trust in God's provision. Reflection, to lean on His promise that He will supply all your needs according to His riches. Weakness in that moment creates space for faith to grow. Or think of a person struggling emotionally. Reflection, someone who tries to hold it together for everyone else. They smile on the outside but ache on the inside. They listen to everyone else's problems but never share their own. Eventually, reflection, the pressure becomes too heavy and they feel like collapsing. That breaking point is not the end, it is the opening. Because when they finally admit, reflection, I can't do this on my own, that's when God steps in and becomes their comforter, their healer, their peace. Reflection, weakness turned into surrender becomes the bridge to strength beyond what they ever imagined. In the Bible, Paul himself said, when I am weak, then I am strong. Why? Reflection. Because weakness strips away pride, it strips away self-reliance, it strips away the illusion that we are in control. Weakness humbles us enough to say, God, reflection, I need you. And the moment we do that, His strength begins to flow through us. It's like plugging a lamp into the socket on its own. The lamp can do nothing. It can't shine, reflection. It can't bring light. But the moment it is connected to the power source, the light bursts forth. Your weakness is like that plug. It connects you to the true source of strength, reflection. Think of an athlete again. A weightlifter in the gym doesn't grow stronger by lifting weights that are easy. They grow when they push beyond their own limits, reflection. When their muscles tremble under the strain, that trembling, that weakness, is actually the place where growth begins. In the same way, when life pushes us to the point where we tremble, reflection, when we feel like we cannot take one more step, that's where God begins to build a new strength inside us, one that doesn't come from ourselves but from Him, reflection. Daily life shows us again and again that weakness can lead to strength if we allow it. The person who admits they don't have all the answers becomes wise enough to learn. Reflection. The one who confesses they are struggling becomes open enough to receive help. The soul that acknowledges its need becomes humble enough to receive God's touch. Weakness is not the enemy. Reflection. Pride is the enemy. Pretending to be invincible is the enemy. But weakness that turns to God becomes the soil where miracles grow. Reflection. Some of the most powerful testimonies come not from people who never struggled, but from those who fell and were lifted. Not from those who were always strong, reflection, but from those who admitted their weakness and discovered God's strength. The broken places in your life can become the very places where His glory shines the brightest. Reflection. The cracks in your heart are not evidence of failure, they are the places where His light breaks through. So stop being ashamed of your weakness. Stop hiding your tears, reflection. Stop pretending you have it all together. Stop carrying burdens that were never meant to be carried alone. When you feel weak, let that be the signal to lean into God more deeply, reflection. When you feel like you've reached the end, remember that His strength has no end. When you feel like your hands can't hold on, trust that His hands are already holding you, reflection. Your weakness is not your downfall, it is your doorway. It is the place where the human ends and the divine begins. It is the proof that you were never meant to live this life in your own power, reflection. So lift your head even in your weariness. Take courage even in your trembling. For in your weakness, you are not abandoned. In your weakness, you are not forgotten. In your weakness, reflection, you are simply being invited into the arms of the one whose strength never fails. You may feel drained because what you prayed for hasn't come yet. You have been asking, believing, and waiting, reflection. But it feels like nothing is moving. You wake up some mornings wondering if God even heard you. You look at your life and say, why hasn't it happened yet? Reflection. Why do I feel stuck in the same place? Why does it seem like the heavens are silent? But hear this truth, clearly delay does not mean denial. Reflection. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen. The waiting season is not wasted time. It is preparation time. Think about a farmer who plants a seed in the ground. Reflection. He doesn't walk out the next day expecting to see a fully grown tree. He doesn't dig up the soil every morning to check if the roots are growing. He knows that growth takes time, reflection, that unseen things must happen before visible fruit appears. In the same way, when God delays an answer to your prayer, it doesn't mean He has forgotten you, reflection. It means He is working in the unseen places, preparing the roots of your blessing so that when it comes, it will stand strong, reflection. Sometimes the delay is not about the promise, it's about preparing you for the promise. Imagine giving the keys of a powerful car to a child who doesn't yet know how to drive. Reflection. The car isn't bad and the child isn't unloved. But the timing isn't right. The delay isn't rejection, it's protection. God knows what you are ready for and what would overwhelm you. Reflection. He knows what season you are in and what season is still to come. He knows the exact timing when the blessing will not only come into your life, but stay and prosper. In everyday life, reflection, this plays out in so many ways. Maybe you've been praying for a job opportunity. You've sent out applications, you've gone to interviews, and still, doors seem to close. Reflection. That delay doesn't mean you're unworthy. It doesn't mean God has denied you. It could mean He's keeping you from a position that would drain your joy. Reflection. From a workplace that would break your spirit, or from a role that doesn't align with your destiny. When the right door opens, you'll look back and thank Him for every closed one. Reflection. Or perhaps you've been praying for healing in your body or in your heart. Day after day, you've been waiting, wondering why it hasn't happened yet. Reflection. The delay doesn't mean God has abandoned you. Sometimes the waiting builds faith that can't be shaken. Sometimes the process teaches you lessons that health alone could never teach. Reflection. And sometimes the very delay becomes part of the testimony that inspires others when the breakthrough finally comes. Consider relationships. Reflection. Maybe you've asked God to send the right person into your life. You've been patient, you've been hopeful, yet nothing seems to happen. That delay is not denial. It is divine timing. Reflection. God is not only preparing you, He may also be preparing the other person, aligning both of your paths so that when you meet, it's not just an encounter, it's destiny. Reflection. Many heartbreaks are avoided when you trust God's timing instead of rushing into your own. Delays also develop resilience. If everything you prayed for arrived the moment you asked, reflection, your faith would remain shallow. You wouldn't know how to trust when the nights are long, how to lean on God when nothing makes sense, how to believe when everything around you screams doubt. Reflection. It is in the waiting season that your faith muscles grow. It is in the silence that you learn to listen more deeply. Reflection. It is in the delay that you discover God's presence is not limited to answered prayers. He is with you in the waiting just as much as in the fulfillment. Look at Joseph's life. Reflection. He dreamed of greatness as a teenager, but he didn't step into that destiny immediately. He went through betrayal, slavery, false accusations, and years in prison. From the outside, reflection, it may have looked like God had denied him. But the truth was God was shaping him, maturing him, preparing him for leadership. When the time was right, reflection, Joseph rose from the prison to the palace in one day. The delay was not denial, it was preparation for elevation. The same is true for you. Reflection. Every delay you faced has been shaping something inside you. Every season of waiting has been building character, patience, and perspective. God isn't just answering your prayer. Reflection. He's building you into the kind of person who can handle the answer when it comes. If the blessing arrives before you're ready, it may slip through your hands. Reflection. But if it comes in God's timing, it will stay, it will prosper, it will multiply. So instead of resenting the delay, begin to trust it. Instead of doubting in the waiting, reflection. Start preparing in the waiting. If you've been asking for a new opportunity, sharpen your skills while you wait. If you've been asking for a breakthrough, strengthen your faith while you wait. Reflection. If you've been asking for direction, use the waiting to draw closer to God's voice. The waiting is not wasted, it is part of the process. Delay does not mean denial. Reflection. It means that God loves you enough to give you not just what you asked for, but what you are truly ready for. It means that He is aligning people, places, and opportunities in ways you cannot see. Reflection. It means that when the blessing comes, it will come at the exact moment it was meant to, and no force on earth can stop it. Reflection. So don't let weariness in the waiting convince you that God has said no. His silence is not absence. His delay is not rejection. His timing is perfect, and when it comes, reflection, you will understand why the waiting was necessary. You may be drained right now, reflection, but hold on. The delay is only setting the stage for a testimony greater than anything you imagine. Some of your exhaustion is not from the battle itself, reflection, but from carrying what God never asked you to carry. They're burdens that belong to Him, yet we insist on holding them ourselves. We try to fix every problem, control every outcome, reflection, and manage every detail. And the more we grip, the heavier it becomes. That heaviness you feel is often not because of what life threw at you, but because of the weight you refuse to release. Reflection. The truth is, peace comes when you put it in His hands. Think about someone trying to carry a suitcase that is far too heavy. They strain, they stumble, they sweat, and they struggle. Reflection. Someone stronger comes alongside and says, let me carry it for you. But instead of letting go, they hold on tighter. That is what many of us do with God. We ask Him for help, reflection, but we refuse to let go of the weight. We pray about it, but then we pick it right back up. We say we trust Him, but we still try to control the outcome. Reflection. No wonder we're exhausted. Our hands were never designed to carry loads that only His hands can handle. Look at daily life. A mother worries constantly about her children. Reflection. She wonders if they will make the right choices, if they'll be safe, if they'll succeed. Her love for them is real, but her anxiety is crushing. She lies awake at night, reflection, carrying the burden of their future. But she cannot control every choice they make. She cannot prevent every struggle they face. The weight is too heavy for her. Reflection. That burden was meant to be placed in God's hands. When she finally prays and truly releases them to Him, she finds peace. The love remains, but the crushing fear is lifted. Reflection. Or think about a man trying to handle financial struggles. He stresses over bills, debts, and deadlines. He crunches numbers, loses sleep, and feels the constant pressure in his chest. Reflection. The more he worries, the heavier it feels. But some of that weight isn't his to carry. He is called to work, to be faithful, to manage wisely, but the outcome belongs to God. Reflection. When he finally surrenders and says, God, I've done all I can. Now I trust you with the rest. That's when peace enters. That's when the burden shifts from his shoulders to God's. Reflection. Even in relationships, many of us try to carry what is not ours. We try to change people, fix them, shape them into what we think they should be. And in doing so, we wear ourselves out. Reflection. You cannot carry another person's heart. You cannot control another person's choices. You can love them, pray for them, and support them, but you cannot play God in their lives. Reflection. The more you try, the heavier the weight becomes. True love is not about control, it is about trust, and trust means releasing them into God's care. Jesus himself told us, "Come to me." Reflection. All you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Notice he didn't say, "I'll make your life problem free." He said, "Bring the weight to me." Reflection. Put it in my hands. Rest comes when we make the exchange. Our burdens for his peace, our stress for his strength, our worry for his wisdom. Reflection. The reason so many of us stay tired is because we have prayed, but we haven't released. We've asked, but we've kept carrying. And until you let go, you'll remain weary. Reflection. Think of a child learning to swim. They cling tightly to the edge of the pool, terrified of letting go. The parent stands in the water, arms wide open, saying, "I've got you." Reflection. Trust. The child's arms ache from holding on. Their body trembles from fear, yet they refuse to release. The moment they finally let go and allow themselves to be held, the struggle stops. Reflection. They discover the water can carry them. In the same way, your life feels exhausting because you're clinging to the edge, trying to hold yourself up. But God is saying, "Let go. I've got you." Reflection. Stop trying to do it all on your own and let me carry you. The daily struggles prove this again and again. That sickness you're trying to heal yourself from, you can't. Reflection. That uncertainty about tomorrow you're trying to solve today, you can't. That guilt from the past you're still dragging like chains, you can't fix it on your own. But God can. Reflection. He can bring healing where doctors cannot. He can open doors no man can shut. He can rewrite stories that seem ruined, but only when you place it in his hands. Reflection. Imagine how light your life would feel if you stopped carrying everything that isn't yours. Imagine waking up without the constant knot of worry in your stomach. Reflection. Imagine moving forward without the heavy pressure of trying to control things beyond your power. That is the freedom God offers. Not a life without problems, reflection, but a life without the weight of trying to handle them alone. This doesn't mean you stop working, stop planning, or stop caring. It means you do what you can and trust God with what you can't. Reflection. You work hard, but you don't let work consume you. You love deeply, but you don't try to play God in someone's life. You prepare wisely, but you don't live in fear of the future. Reflection. It's the balance of responsibility and surrender is where peace is found. So ask yourself today, what weight have you been carrying that God never asked you to carry? Reflection. What burden has been crushing your shoulders that belongs in his hands? Is it worry about the future? Is it guilt about the past? Is it pressure to perform, to prove to control? Lay it down. Reflection. Release it. Trust him with it, because as long as your hands are clenched around it, his hands can't take it. But the moment you let go, reflection, you will feel the freedom of his strength lifting what was too heavy for you. Some of your exhaustion is not from the battle at all. It is from carrying what was never yours. Reflection. And the good news is you don't have to keep carrying it. Peace, strength, reflection, and rest are waiting for you the moment you put it in his hands. God promised that those who wait on him shall renew their strength. That means no matter how worn down you feel, reflection, no matter how empty your tank seems, fresh strength is on the way. Strength that doesn't come from energy drinks or coffee. Strength that doesn't come from human willpower, reflection, but strength that comes directly from heaven. Reflection. And the beauty of this promise is that it's not just about physical strength. It's about the kind of strength that keeps your spirit alive when life is trying to shut you down. Reflection. It's the strength that lifts you up when you thought you couldn't get back up again. Picture someone running a marathon. At mile 1, the energy is there. At mile 5, they still feel strong, reflection. But at mile 15, the body starts to ache, the legs grow heavy, the lungs burn, everything in them screams to quit. But then something powerful happens, a second wind. Out of nowhere, reflection, fresh energy flows in, and what felt impossible now feels possible again. That is exactly what God does when you wait on him. He gives you a second wind. He breathes new life into your tired soul, reflection. And suddenly you find yourself running further than you thought you could, climbing higher than you believed was possible, and standing stronger than you imagined. In daily life, many of us walk around like we are at mile 15. Parents are tired from raising children, trying to hold a household together, working long hours, and still showing up for their kids. Reflection. Workers are drained from chasing deadlines, sitting in traffic, battling office politics, and trying to keep up with the pressure. Students are weary from constant studying, endless exams, reflection, and the weight of uncertainty about the future. Everywhere you turn, you see people worn down, tired, running low on strength. And maybe that's where you are today, at the edge of burnout, reflection. But hear this, your tiredness is not the end. It is the place where God's promise steps in. God's strength doesn't just restore your body, it restores your spirit. Reflection. When life has drained the joy out of you, He pours fresh joy. When disappointment has knocked the wind out of you, He fills your lungs again with hope. Reflection. When you feel like you're barely holding on, He gives you the power not only to hold on, but to rise up. And the key is waiting on Him. Waiting doesn't mean sitting in despair. Reflection. Waiting means trusting, believing, and expecting. It means standing in the middle of your storm saying, I may be weak, but my God is strong. I may be tired, but He is my strength. Reflection. I may not see the answer yet, but I know it's coming. Think about the eagle in the promise. Eagles don't flap their wings endlessly trying to stay in the air. Reflection. They wait for the right wind current, then spread their wings and soar. They are lifted not by their own effort, but by the wind beneath them. That's what God's strength is like. Reflection. It lifts you beyond your own effort. You don't have to flap endlessly in your own power. You just need to spread your wings in faith and let His Spirit carry you higher. Reflection. A man once said he had reached his breaking point. Bill stacked up his marriage under strain, his mind filled with anxiety. He felt too tired to fight anymore. But instead of giving up, reflection, he fell on his knees and prayed. He admitted, God, I can't do this by myself anymore. And something shifted. The problems didn't vanish overnight, but a new strength entered him. Reflection. He went from feeling crushed to feeling carried. That's what waiting on God does. It doesn't always change your circumstances immediately, reflection, but it changes you in the middle of your circumstances. Suddenly, the same weight that once buried you now becomes the testimony of how God lifted you. Reflection, fresh strength can look different for each of us. For some, it's a calmness in the middle of chaos. For others, it's a sudden clarity when decisions feel overwhelming. For others, reflection, it's a joy that doesn't make sense when life should have made you bitter. And sometimes, it's simply the strength to keep taking one more step when you felt like stopping. Reflection. That is the miracle of God's strength. It meets you right where you are. You might feel like you've reached the end of your rope. You might be tired of waiting, tired of fighting, reflection, tired of believing. But I came to tell you, this is not the end of your story. Strength is coming. Hope is coming. Renewal is coming. God has not forgotten you. His promise still stands, reflection, and His word has never failed. You will not always feel this tired. You will not always be this drained. Fresh wind is about to hit your wings, and when it does, reflection, you'll soar higher than you ever imagined. So lift your head, breathe again, rest in the truth that God has seen your struggle. He has counted your tears, reflection, and He is preparing fresh strength for you. What felt like the end will become the beginning of a new season. The same God who lifted up the eagle will lift you. Reflection, the same God who parted seas and moved mountains will move for you. Wait on Him and watch how He renews you. Your tiredness is temporary. Your strength in God is eternal. The battle may be long, reflection, but the victory is certain. Hold on, because fresh strength is not just a promise, it's already on the way. This season of tiredness will not be wasted. Reflection, it may feel like the hardest chapter of your life, but what you are walking through right now is shaping the very testimony that will one day inspire others. Every tear, every sleepless night, reflection, every battle that left you exhausted is not meaningless. God has a way of turning your test into your testimony, your struggle into your story, your pain into your platform. Reflection, what you thought would break you is actually preparing to bless you. Think about it. Some of the most powerful stories you have ever heard didn't come from people who had it easy. Reflection, they came from people who had to fight, who had to endure, who had to press on when they were tired. They came from people who fell but got back up, who struggled but kept moving forward. Reflection, their testimony was born out of their test, and the same is true for you. You may be in the middle of the test right now, reflection, but one day you will look back and realize that everything you went through is building a story that someone else needed to hear. Take, for example, reflection, a single mother who works 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. She comes home tired, her body aching, but she still helps her children with homework, still makes sure they feel loved. Reflection, still pushes through even when she feels like collapsing. She may not see it now, but years later, her children will rise and say, because of you, we never gave up. Because of you, reflection, we know what strength looks like. Her tiredness becomes her testimony. Her sacrifice becomes the story that fuels the next generation. Or think about someone who battled sickness for years. Reflection, hospital visits, treatments, nights of pain, and moments when it seemed easier to quit. But they kept believing, kept praying, kept trusting. And when healing finally came, reflection, their story carried weight. They could look someone else in the eye who was going through the same battle and say, I've been there, I know what it feels like. Reflection, and I can tell you that you're not alone and you will make it through. That kind of testimony has power because it's not theory. It's real. It's born from the fire of experience. Reflection. Sometimes we wish we didn't have to go through the storm. We wish life could be smooth, simple, easy. But without the storm, there's no story. Without the battle, there's no victory. Reflection. Without the test, there's no testimony. What you are going through right now is not the end. It's the setup for what God is preparing to do through you. Reflection. And when you come out on the other side, you won't just come out empty-handed. You will come out carrying wisdom, compassion, resilience, and faith that can't be shaken. Reflection. Imagine someone climbing a steep mountain. Every step feels heavy, every breath is short, every muscle screams in pain. They feel like stopping, but they keep moving forward. Reflection. When they finally reach the top, the view takes their breath away. And more than that, they now have a story to tell about the climb. They can encourage others who stand at the bottom looking up. Reflection, afraid of the journey. They can say, yes, it was hard. Yes, it drained me, but I made it. Reflection, and so can you. That is what your tiredness is doing. It's giving you a mountaintop story that will encourage others who feel stuck in the valley. Even in daily life, reflection, we see how powerful testimonies are. Someone who overcame addiction can inspire another who is struggling. Someone who survived loss can comfort another who is grieving. Reflection. Someone who broke free from poverty can show another that it is possible. Testimonies aren't just for you. They are for the people who will hear them. Reflection. Your tired season is producing something that will go far beyond you. It will ripple into the lives of others. And here's the beauty of it, when God gives you a testimony, reflection, it doesn't just glorify you, it glorifies Him. People will look at your story and say, if God brought them through that reflection, then surely He can bring me through mine. Your life becomes evidence of His power, proof of His faithfulness, a living witness of His goodness. What the enemy meant to drain you, reflection, God will use to display His strength in you. So don't despise this season of tiredness. Don't think it's wasted. Every moment of pain, every ounce of effort, every drop of sweat is purpose. Reflection. One day you'll sit across from someone who is fighting the very battle you once fought. And when you share your story, you'll see their eyes light up with hope. Reflection. You'll see their shoulders lift a little higher. You'll see faith rise inside them, all because you endured your season and didn't give up. Your test will become your testimony. Reflection. Your tiredness will become your triumph. One day, you'll stand and declare, I thought I couldn't make it, but look at me now. I thought it was over, but God had another plan. Reflection. I thought I was finished, but He was just getting started. That story will inspire people more than you'll ever know. So hold on a little longer. Keep pressing through. Reflection, even when you feel weary, because God is not wasting your pain. He is preparing your platform. He is turning your midnight into a message, your struggle into strength, reflection, your weariness into a witness. And when the time comes, your testimony will be the light that leads someone else out of their darkness. So don't give up. Reflection. Don't let tiredness convince you that you're done. God is not finished with you yet. The same God who woke you up this morning, the same God who gave you breath, reflection, the same God who gave you hope when you wanted to quit, that God will carry you through this season. You may be tired, but you're not alone. You may be weak, but you're not forgotten. Reflection, you may be drained, but you are still destined. God knows you are tired, and He's already preparing to lift you higher.